stage just going like this for a while. That's fucking real and stuff. I've been enjoying the evening in your beautiful town. Celebrating Leslie and whatnot, not getting harassed by anybody in terms of the law, going, hey, what's that smell? Like, it's been pretty cool. I don't know if the pot balls are here. Maybe I should be talking like this. I don't know. Everyone went quiet. They're like, you just admitted it. But I figured this is the day where they get everybody off. I hope I'm not fucking wrong. Honestly, officer, it's 420s. I don't give a fuck. I had a little 420 fucking story that I wanted to share with you. Just happened today, about an hour before I came here. That happened on 420, wouldn't it? Happened before I jumped out on stage. I got this kid, Harley. She's real fucking cute. She's 16 years old and she's like my fucking texting friend. Texts constantly, all the time. And she's fast. Unlike most adults, she responds to texts. Like, I'll send Jason Mewes a text and be like, hey man, do you want to do this thing? And I don't hear back from him. And the next day, we'll be in a car and he's driving somewhere and he's like, yes. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, you asked that thing on text last night. And I was like, you're failing the technology, dude, or it's failing you, I'm not quite sure which one. My wife, and she'll be in the same fucking room with me. I'll be laying on the bed watching a movie. She sits on the couch reading, puts on headphones, or sometimes she watches like her own fucking programs on her laptop with headphones on. So I was watching this like really sweet program, made me think of her. It was kind of mushy. So I grabbed my phone and I texted her and I was like, I love you so fucking much. And hit send, and I heard it pop up on her phone like to my left. But ding. And she's reading her book and she looks over and she just goes back to fucking reading. So I saw it in action, man. I was like, hey! And she's like, oh, I love you too. Kid, man, she's on it. I hit send, 3 dots come up instantly. She's already mid-response when I'm mid-question and stuff. So I guess my piece of advice to the audience is if you want to have a fulfilling texting relationship, start hanging out with teen girls. That's not it. Regardless, anyway, so I text with her quite a bit, and we just had the following exchange that I thought was rather amusing. She texted me out of the blue. She goes, where in the world are you, father? I've been gone for 4 days. She just noticed. I said, Atlanta, Georgia. And she goes, on 420? What if CNN sees you? I was impressed by that. Good reference, man. I said, that private school tuition is really paying off. She said, when are you home? And I said, Saturday night after Austin shows. She said, do you want to go to Harry Potter World on Sunday? They just opened up the Wizarding World of Harry Potter at the theme park, Universal theme park in Hollywood. They've had it in Florida for a couple of years, but it's huge fucking news in Los Angeles and stuff. A lot of celebrities going to. I saw Mindy from the Mindy Project. She went and stuff and said, it's fucking magical. So the whole town is turning out, and the kid wants to go. And we've gone to the one in Florida, but the kid is interested in going to this one out here. So she said, you want to go to Harry Potter World on Sunday? I said, won't it be crowded on a Sunday? And this is where shit takes a weird turn. Because I was just being logical. I was like, won't it be crowded on a Sunday? And she said, we could buy front of the line passes, dumble dick. Now, a little context. Because right off the bat, you're like, oh, it's clever. She's going to Harry Potter World. She called them Dumble Dicks. Not that easy, man. Dumble Dick is a nickname that my wife calls me. And it's like, it's what I guess, it's not really kid appropriate. But she apparently doesn't know that, man. So I'm like loving this because she just said something that's kind of like me and my wife's safe word, more or less. So I said, you are not allowed to call me that. Only Mom. And she goes, oh, Mr. Thin-Skinned Dumble Dick. So bothered by his nickname. So she's being a little dick at this point. Possibly even a double dick, I would say. So this is when I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna drop the hammer and fuck with her mind and shit. I said, do you know why your mom calls me double dick? And she wrote, because you're the head of Hogwarts? And I said, no, child, it's a sex thing. And she just wrote, OMG. And I said, yes, so keep calling me Dumble Dick. And she said, I just threw up in my mouth a little. I need to scrub this from my brain. And I said, try a magic spell called Forget-A-Guess. And she said, I would, but you hid all your weed. Okay, folks, so we're going to do Q&A. We're going to do it for... Like, I was making that piece while I was directing The Flash, because I went up to direct an episode of The Flash recently. And basically, when they found out, the folks at Geeking Out, they were like, oh my God, that's fucking perfect. Like, we'll send a crew up there, and you can walk us through the world. And you know, I was like, okay, of course, yeah, that sounds great. Because I just say yes to fucking everything. Because they always hit me when I'm like, yeah, that's possible. Anything's possible. And then the day comes and I'm like, why am I doing this? And they're like, because you fucking said yes. So, you know, they came up to Vancouver while I was shooting my episode of The Flash. And it was difficult because I was like, kind of, my head was in the episode because I'd never been up there before, wasn't directing my own stuff. I was kind of like, when I direct, my directing's kind of weak, man. Any critic will tell you that. But basically, I buttress it with my writing, and I buttress it with editing. So basically, like, I get to play on an unlevel playing field, even though I'm like not that exceptional at directing, because I have those other two elements at play. It works out in my favor. But going up to Flash, they have a script already. Like, you don't get to write it. And they already have editors on staff, so you don't get to cut. So basically, it was like going up there and like getting into a fight with two arms tied behind my back and shit. And just, using my head and mouth. But the good news is I can really use my fucking mouth. So I was able to kind of get through the fight. And it was a real educational process because I was like, oh, like this is what directing is. Solely directing. If I didn't do those other things, this is what the job is like. So it was educational, and I was kind of happy to be like, oh shit, I could do it. Like, because going up there, I was like, I don't know if I can pull this off, because I'm a massive fucking fan of the show, and I was worried that I would just get there on set, and anything they did, I would just be like, I love it, that's awesome, do it again. But I wound up being kind of opinionated, not in a shitty way, where I'm like, this blows. But like, I walked onto their set, and I didn't want to act like a guy who was like, let me show you fuckers how to make the Flash. Like, they do a great job every week. So instead, I kind of went up there and brought enthusiasm. That was like what I brought to the table more than anything else. Like, they were all fucking wide-eyed and shit. Like, because I went there, I was excited. I'm a huge fan. So when I directed, it sounded like this. Like, let's say this is the second take of a fucking third setup in 5 setups in one scene. Within 4 scenes we have to shoot that day. And let's say we're on scene fucking 3. So basically, like, I've gone through that first take and I know I've got everything I need. We're just gonna gild the lily, go one more take and stuff, grab a few extra beats, because the camera's always moving, and this time we'll have the camera right on Grant when he says this one key line instead of over here and stuff. So we're about to go, and this is how I direct. I'm like, all right, folks, man, here we go. We're going to go with the second take for this. Last one was fucking gold. Every piece of it usable and shit. We're going to gild the lily right now, see if we can get a little more, pull a little more milk out of this fucking cow. You follow me? I said,
all right.
Okay. I can't focus. That's right. So what I want to ask.
I don't know if you'll be in it. That's for me. You go away.
That's right. I'll just awkwardly peep up somewhere. So
yeah,
I just want to say, so as a present film director, you're one of my inspirations. So I want to say, what does it take to be like a good director or writer? And are there any do's and don'ts that you should do in film?
I'm the last guy you want to ask about. How do you be a good director? I'm advice whatsoever, it would be spend your currency. That's what you got to do. I don't know if you'll be good, but you'll be true. You'll be honest. And like, at the heart of anything, any piece of good art or self-expression, there's got to be honesty, even if it's about jokes and fucking it's in outer space or whatever. There's got to be some fucking emotional honesty to it. And that comes from your voice. And like everybody in this room is an amazing little content generator with a gazillion stories to tell. Like they've had these life experiences that would make wonderful movies, wonderful books, wonderful stories, even wonderful podcasts or whatever. And so that's what I believe, man. Everybody can fucking easily pull that off. But you gotta spend your currency. And your voice is the only currency that you get in this life. That's spendable. Everything else kind of goes away. Your youth fades, your looks wither and stuff like that. We all eventually fucking die. The only thing that's consistent your entire life is your perspective, your POV, the prism through which you view life, and then translate it and define it to others. That's insanely valuable because every one of them is different. Yours is different than mine, mine's different than hers, hers is different than his, so forth and so on. Like fucking snowflakes. They always like, everyone's as unique as snowflake. I don't know about everybody, but all of our fucking perspectives are. That voice is what you need to spend, man. Don't worry about fucking spending dimes and shit like that, money. You spend time. You spend time by sharing that fucking voice any way, shape, or form you can. Whether it's fucking movies, which is wonderful, but movies allow you to kind of take the truth and dress it up. And it's also a crapshoot. Like you make a movie, you can make any movie you want. But if you want to show it in the theater, or take it to a festival, or get somebody to pick it up, you're going to encounter a gatekeeper. Somebody who's like, well, let me see if this is good enough for me. Let me see if it's good enough for us, for this theater. You can make any fucking TV show you want. But if you want to put it on TV, sooner or later, you will encounter somebody who's like, hold on, I have to see if this is good enough. There's always a gatekeeper to the forms of self-expression that seem the sexiest, mass media self-expression and shit like that. However, right now, in podcasting, there's no fucking gatekeeper whatsoever. There's nobody on duty. There's nobody saying, do it. Nobody's saying, you can't say this. Nobody's saying, it has to be this. It's free-form freedom of expression right now. And one day, there will be a gatekeeper when they figure out how to monetize and shit like that. But until that happens, I love to encourage people, start there. Like, film is completely different than podcasting, but they're both fucking storytelling. And if you can tell a story with no pictures, you can easily tell a story with pictures. So podcast is free training. Just for storytelling. On top of that, doing a podcast is just fucking soul lifting, man. Like basically, it's a cheap form of therapy. It's you just talking. It's the talking cure. You sit down with somebody you like, or somebody you don't like, or sometimes you sit there by yourself. I've done podcasts with just me talking to myself and shit like that. Talk to anybody you fucking want about anything that you want. And there you can fucking train for being a storyteller in other mediums. But more importantly, you figure out how to interact with people, how to share with people and shit like that. You do a podcast, you can do about anything you want, any subject you want. As long as you speak passionately about it, there will be an audience for it. I don't give a fuck what it is. I do 6 fucking podcasts a week, man. One of them is incredibly, well, they're all pretty stupid, but one of them is real fucking stupid. One's called Talk Salad and Scrambled Eggs. It's a podcast that we admire, and basically all we do are unasked for commentary tracks for every episode of Frasier. And that counts as a fucking show, man. So basically you record anything you want. You sit down with people that you fucking love or you don't love or whatever the fuck, and you just talk. You hold forth on shit. Like, you don't even have to do a podcast about, like, you love the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You don't have to do all the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You can just do a podcast about Leonardo. That's it. And you'll get to episode 100 before you finally have to say, you know what, Donatello's a bitch. There, I said it. Because your passion will come through and you'll slowly build an audience for it. There are a bunch of people who are like, I like Leonardo too. And this shit's free, so why the fuck not? Stuff like that. So I'm always encourage people to do that. Go out and fucking record podcasts, man. And some people are like, well, I'm not talented like that. I'm fucking blah, blah, blah. It don't take talent to have a conversation. Like, it really, look, I'll argue further that nothing takes talent in this life. You can get a lot further on will than you'll ever get on fucking skill. But in podcasts, for sure, it takes no skill or talent whatsoever. It's talking. We all do that anyway. We talk to one another and shit. So you sit down with somebody and you just start fucking recording. Talk about whatever you want. And then you send it to fucking iTunes. 2 days later, you get an email where they're like, congratulations, Cat, you're a fucking broadcaster. And you are. It counts, man. And you wind up in the same lists as I do with my dopey shows. And some people are like, well, I don't fucking do that. I don't like, I don't feel the need to be entertaining. You don't have to be entertaining. This is one of the most masturbatory art forms there is. Because all you do is talk about what you want to fucking talk about and shit like that. And if you're like, well, that's not good enough reason. I don't need my voice out there. I don't need like this guy trained in storytelling and shit like that. Then do it for this reason. Because sometimes it's nice to have a microphone on conversations. You never really have a microphone on your favorite conversations and shit. Nobody does that. We take pictures of each other constantly, but we never stick a microphone into each other's faces and stuff. And when I think about like some of my best times I've ever had with my friends, it's conversations we've had. When we get together, like, remember that one time we talked about this? And then one day I was like, let's just put a microphone on this shit and record these. You get to keep those. You can share them with the world and stuff, but you always have those recordings to go to. You'll never be alone again and shit. And there's also like something to be said for recording with people that won't be here forever. I'm a middle-aged man at this point. So I think about the people that are going to fall away, because I've lost a lot of people over the last few years, and people are aging out of my life and shit. So I recorded a podcast with my mom a couple times, man. I wish I had done it with my dad before he died and shit, but I never did. I wasn't in podcasting when my dad died. But Dan Skippy recorded one with my mom and stuff. I sat her down, I fed her a bunch of edibles, a bunch of weed cakes, Red Velvet, Pineapple Express, man, and she was eating them by the piece. 2 hours into that podcast, I just got real with her. I just started asking real fucking honest questions where I was like, Mom, what was it like to suck Dad's dick? And she's eating that cake going, it was luscious, Tiger, luscious. And I posted on the internet, people are like, your mom's fun, dude. And my mom won't stick around in this best of all possible world. She's 70 years old. One day I'm going to get a call and shit. It's going to be heartbreaking, and that'll be that. But I'll always have that recording. I'll always have like those podcasts I did with her, or the one I'm going to do next week when she's in Los Angeles and stuff, to listen to. Remember these great conversations that I had with my mom and stuff. A living memorial of sorts. And I'll tell you right now, you'll never forget what anybody looks like in this life. Ever. Because all we do is take pictures of each other and shit. So when people die, you'll know what they look like from now until the end of time, until you fucking die. But the first thing that goes when you lose people is the voice. Unless you've been recording their voice, you forget what people fucking sound like because there's no prompt. And how often do you ever stick a microphone in somebody's face? So do it for that reason, if for nothing else, man. Sit down and talk to some people who you find fascinating who might not be around that much longer. Or, if none of that is appealing, if you're just like, no, that's fucking appealing to me, try it for this reason. It could be a business. People are like, no, it can't. That shit's free. It is. Podcasting's free. You don't charge for podcasts. You put it up. That's how you get a bunch of listeners. It's a free fucking show. There are a lot of people in this world who spend time in cars and traveling, and they just love to fucking listen to stuff. God bless you. So if you collect an audience of about 5,000 people, that's all it would take. 5,000 earballs, and that's possible. It sounds like a big figure, but it's a big world, man. If you're talking about whatever you're talking about, I guarantee you, it's probably like 5,000 people minimum interested in what you have to say. I believe that we all have the answers that we need. Like, we all look to people in funny outfits, for leadership, the church, politics and shit. Really, we can just look to one another, man. We have it, not me. We all have the answers. We just communicate and not necessarily sat down and talk to one another, but just here are my thoughts. Let me share this self-expression. We'd be helping people out, man. Like, you'd be able to, people get information from you, you get the information from them and shit like that. So, even if you're not into that, even if you're like, that's a little artsy-fartsy, fucking altruistic, man, you gotta give me a real reason to sit down and record this podcast. You get a small audience of 5,000, somebody will come to you, whether it's audible.com or fucking NatureBox, and they'll be like, hey, you got a bunch of people listening, so we'd like to put an advertisement on your podcast. $200-300 to say some shit about NatureBox before your show begins. You do that 3 or 4 times a week, that's $900-1,200. Suddenly, you quit your day job because you're a fucking broadcaster, man. Like, that's real. Some people are like, no, that only happens to people like you because you make Clerks. Fine. I'll give you an example of somebody who did not make Clerks and turned it into a fucking career. This guy named Harley Warrenstein who does Epic Mealtime on YouTube. Harley Warrenstein came from Montreal. He was a substitute teacher, not even a teacher, a substitute teacher. And he said his fucking favorite part of the day, the only thing that made it worth it for him, was when, right before kids would come in, he would set up a projector and hold down the screen. And so kids would come in, they're like, right on and shit. And as soon as they sat down, he's like, okay, we're having a pop quiz. And they would just sit there, the whole class, and quietly look at one another and be like, what the fuck? And then finally he said, invariably somebody would be like raising their hand and be like, yes? And they're like, are we gonna watch a movie or something? He goes, what made you think that? And then do that. He's like, that's how I felt fulfilled at my job. He's like, so I would go home and get drunk and shit like that. One night when I got drunk, I was sitting there making pizza, and I decided I'm gonna make a fucked up pizza, and I put some hamburger and shit on it, and I was shooting myself doing it, and I turned it into a little video, and I uploaded it and went to bed. It's like I woke up and had 200,000 hits. I couldn't fucking believe it. I said, let me see if I can do this again. So the next day I shot myself shooting some, making some fucked up food, put it up on the internet, had double the amount of hits. And at that point I said, I'm no longer a substitute teacher, I'm an internet chef. And he knows shit about cooking, dude. He doesn't know anything about cooking. None of his friends know anything about cooking. But he's just making fucked up food. Like, what do you need to know, man? It's just like, how fucking many calories can you fit into this? So after about 6 episodes, he said the kids in school come up to him and be like, teacher, I saw you on the internet cooking all fucked up. And he's like, I gotta get out of school. I can't stay here anymore. And he could afford to get out of school because he was already earning off of that fucking show. Now, Harley was on the list 2 years ago. Top 30 under 30 list. And for Forbes magazine, for top 30 under 30 making a living, a huge fucking living off of the internet. That guy was not like, I made a movie, so it made it easy for me to fucking launch this career. He just did something that he was like, I like this, it makes me laugh. And then made a bunch of other people laugh, and he leaned into it. He's like, this is what I am now. And he's built a fucking career where the dude makes fucking way more money than I do doing my bullshit. That comes from self-expression. That comes from doing a podcast. That comes from doing a YouTube video and stuff like that. But that will never come to your fucking door. Like, it'll never show up and present itself to you and be like, take me. You gotta take the first step toward it, man. And that's the thing. It's like, you take one fucking step towards self-expression. One step, self-expression will jump all over you, suck your dick, or lick your pussy, whatever you are. Self-expression is a giant sexualized dog that just wants to be loved. And everybody has the ability to kind of jump out there. Like, I love watching people come here and watch me do this. That makes me feel flattered. They're like, they think I'm funny and shit. But honestly, like, when I look out, I'm just like, God damn it, any one of these people could do this. I know for a fact you watch TV, you listen to the radio, somewhere across the course of your lifetime, watch TV or listen to the radio and shit. You've watched somebody talk, some talking head or some such shit, some pundit, and you've sat there and had these thoughts where you're like, I'm funnier than this person, I'm smarter than this person. You may be thinking that shit right now, as a matter of fact. And you're not fucking wrong, absolutely, man. You are smarter and fucking funnier than me. Nobody knows that, though, until you step out there and kind of make the self-expression. You know, and a lot of people don't because they're afraid. You're not afraid. You're heading toward it and shit like that. But a lot of people are like, I don't want to do that because what if I get rejected? What if people are like, you suck, this is stupid, don't fucking do that. I got news for you, that will happen. There are always going to be people who are like, fuck you, why are you doing that and shit like that? Because the world is a crab pot, man. It's a crab bucket. The moment you get over toward the top, toward daylight and shit, there are a bunch of legs that will yank you right the fuck down because misery loves company. And if you excel, that reminds somebody who hasn't done anything that they could have been you, but didn't. They chose not to. So that's the kind of thing that like requires you to step toward it. And when you step toward it or step outside your box, you won't always get met with a hosanna chorus of like, good for you. Most times if you're like, I want to try something I've never tried before, something I'm not known for doing, but I'm drawn to it and I want to do it, you step out there and say you're going to do something like that, you will get slapped across the face with the big floppy dick of why. You will get hit with a chorus of fucking why. Why are you saying this? Why do you think you can do this all of a sudden? Why now? Why are you acting this way and not me? Why are you being like this and shit like that? People get scared if you go to take a step forward, man. What you got to do is surround yourself with why not people. So that the moment you're just like, I want to try this thing, man. They're like, yeah, why not? Let's do that. Why not? I got nothing else to do. Why not? I was just going to jerk off, so let's do that instead. You get a lot done with fucking why not. And I'll tell you, a lot of people sitting in this room tonight don't even know why they're here. Some people are like, oh, I like him. I've seen the movie he's done, or I like hearing him talk. I listen to the podcast, whatever the fuck. Yeah, that's the superficial reason. There's a deeper fucking reason. It's deep-seated, man. We're drawn to the things that we feel that we can do. That's how we fucking gravitate toward those things. We sit there and watch movies, consume TV shows, read books, fucking collect music and shit. There is a nascent artist in you that's just like, I want to be that, man. Like, we grow as kids into imitation patterns, where if you see somebody do something you like, and you try to imitate it. So somebody, there's a cartoon that you like when you're a kid, you try to draw that character or something like that. Or, there's a song that's on the radio, you try to sing that fucking song or something like that. Or when I was a kid, my parents would watch Laverne and Shirley, and I'd watch it with them and stuff because it was like, kind of kid-friendly and shit like that. And so when they would do bits on the show that made my parents laugh, I'd remember that. And then the next day, I would do that bit, and they'd be like, oh, that was like Laverne and Shirley, ha ha. And they'd laugh and they'd pat me on the head. They're like, you're clever. And I was like, that's what I want to be in life. The guy that does Laverne and Shirley jokes and is told he's clever. So I was that all the time. Whenever we went to relatives' house, they'd be like, do it. And I'd come out and do a Laverne and Shirley bit for them and shit like that. I did imitation for years and years and years, got it down to science, man. The thing is, you do that only until you can take the next step, man. Like, I've imitated so long that I learned how to tell a joke. I learned joke structure. I learned how to wait for a fucking, a punchline to hit, and what it hits, what you do next, and how you move forward and leave pause for a laughter, and make sure that everything makes sense so that, they can cognize the joke and shit. And I did it with the Laverne and Shirley bit, and then one day I was like, what if I took out their words and kept the structure, but I put in my own fucking words, my own people and stuff like that. And that's when you go from like imitating to imitating. That's the next step in every self-expressor's life, every artist's life, man. It's not enough to imitate anymore. You're like, oh, I know how to do it. Now I want to bring my content to it. I think that's what's at work here when people come to see me, because they're like, something about it. Like, yeah, it makes me laugh, but there's something a little bit more, and that's because you look at me and you're just like, Jesus Christ, I could be that. I could totally fucking do that. And you're absolutely right, man. So when I'm up here, I love to like make people laugh and shit like that, but as a big Carlin disciple, in that book, Last Words, that he fucking put out, he had this one section where he talked about when you get people laughing, he said that is when you see a person at their absolute most essential essence, exactly who that human being is. Most people put on a facade that they present to the world. This is who I am and stuff. But when you get someone laughing, that shit goes away. You don't hold yourself in a certain way. You just fucking let go. He said when you let somebody get somebody belly laughing, that is absolutely who they are. They are open to suggestion. And he said at that point, I like to whip a little enlightenment on people and stuff. Because, it's kind of like Inception. You've got them in a good place, plant an idea in their fucking head, because their imagination's fertile at that moment, and they're ready to receive you. Because you did something for them. You made them happy. Made them laugh. So I love that, and I've always been trying to do that, man. So for years I always stood on stage and was like, you can all make a movie. Go out and make Clerks, man. It worked for me and shit like that. But the one thing I would never say is, it's going to be expensive, Podcasting, I can easily say, go out and record that. It's not going to cost you a fucking dime. It's going to cost you time, not fucking dimes, man. And then you're on your way to fucking self-expression and shit like that. It doesn't have to be that. It doesn't have to be something where you're sharing your voice with actual people, man. It's just sing your song, whatever that song is, in the way that you want to sing it, in the way that you're kind of afraid of doing it right now. If you're sitting there going, oh, I always wanted to open a fucking cupcake shop, but I think it'll fucking fail. Or I've always wanted to knit a blanket, but I'm an idiot and I can't do it. It's bullshit. All these things are fucking doable and stuff like that. You're just afraid. Like, I get it. I'm afraid too. I'm fucking 45 and I'm still terrified of doing things. That's why I do them. Why the fuck do you think I made that stupid fucking Walrus movie, man? I made that shit because I was scared of that shit. And I was like, oh, I should avoid that. That's not going to help my career. But then I was like, well, maybe that's why you should do it, man. Like, get a little fucking dangerous and stuff. Sometimes you gotta head toward the fucking fear, man. Sometimes you gotta lean into it a little bit. But, if you're sitting out there and you're just like, I don't know, I don't want to get fucking rejected, I don't want to get in trouble, I don't want to get yelled at, I don't want people to say I'm fucking stupid or I'm a failure or I'm a loser. I stand before you the king of the fucking failures, man. I've failed so many times across a 22-year fucking career. I can point to maybe 2 hits. The rest of the time, fucking like utter failure, abject fucking failure, that I then turn into a story later on. Because I learned early in my fucking career that, like, change the game. If it don't work for you, change the game. Like most filmmakers, good filmmakers, like a David Fincher, he'll make a really good film, he'll put it out there, and that art speaks for itself. He doesn't fucking walk out there and be like, hold on, let me tell you a story. Bruce Willis hated me and I got thrown off an airplane and shit like that. He just lets the art speak for itself, but I'm not that guy. I'm the other guy. So when the movie ends, I run out and I'm like, hold on, let me tell you an hour-long story about how that all happened and shit. I've learned to extend the game beyond the simple art itself. And I did that because I was in Houston in 1994 at the Houston World Fest. We we showed Clerks at a festival screening. And Scott Mosier and I were doing Q&A. He was sitting there doing Q&A with me and stuff. We were doing a killer Q&A session. The movie played great. Q&A, we were on fire and shit like that. When it was all done, we immediately raced outside because we were in our 20s and all we wanted to do was smoke cigarettes. So we raced outside, lit fucking cigarettes, and we're like, oh yeah, fucking sweet, we're gonna live forever and shit like that. We're leaning against this wall and there's this door on the other side of this abutment that they can't see us leaning there, but we're leaning on the wall like James up. And fuckers are coming out of the doors because the screening's over. Two dudes walk out of the building, changed my fucking life, changed how I saw things, changed the game forever for me. Don't know their names, never spoke to them, just overheard their conversation. This is what it was, verbatim. One guy says to the other guy, "Do you like the movie?" And the other guy goes, "No, I thought it sucked, but the fat guy was funny." And I was like, I reached him. No, I didn't reach him with the art. I lost him with the art. If we had just stopped with the movie, he would have been like, fuck this guy in a stupid movie and shit like that. But I came out afterwards and I said, let me tell you some fucking stories. And he liked that. So, you know, he's like, maybe I'll give the movie another look down the road. Who fucking knows? But I didn't lose them altogether. I got a second bite of the fucking apple and shit. So I refuse to fucking lose or be a fucking failure. And I don't mean that in a Donald Trump way where I'm like, I'm always winning. I never fucking win at all. But like, you know, losing? Here's the losing. Like, there's so many people like, you failed. Like, after Tusk came out, a bunch of motherfuckers online writing pieces about, he failed, this is an utter failure and shit like that. Number one, it's not a failure, everyone made their fucking money back and shit like that. But number two, the real failure, I feel, would have been in not making it at all. I had the ability to do it, and I had the desire to do it, and I desperately wanted to see that movie. And if I was like, yeah, I want to do it, I can do it, but I'm not going to fucking do it because, god damn it, fucking people will call me a loser if it doesn't work out and shit like that. Then that would be failing. But making the thing, that ain't failing. And just because it doesn't connect with as many people as you want it to, who gives a shit, man? You're not doing it for them. You're doing it for you. Like, Tusk only exists the same reason that fucking Clerks exists, man. Like, Clerks only came into being because I would go to movies all the time. I love comedies and shit. But we'd come out of the comedies, me and my friends, after they were done, I'd be like, you know what, man? That was funny. But how come they never talk about the shit we talk about? How come they never make jokes about the shit we're always joking about? Wouldn't it be nice to come out of this movie and all they joked about was like pussy and Star Wars? Nobody fucking makes that. And for years I would say that. For years I'd be baffled by that. One day I had a fucking brain snap, man. This weird fucking moment where I was just like, Kevin, nobody is ever going to make a movie about the shit you and your friends find funny. Nobody fucking knows who you are or who your friends are. And even if they did, why would they fucking tell your story? They got their own stories to tell. Everyone's got their own agenda. If you want to fucking see a movie about the shit you and your friends find funny, you're going to have to fucking make it. And I did. It was Clerks that changed my fucking life. And the only other time I felt that in my life was when I was sitting around on a podcast with my friend Scott Mosier talking about this fucking story we read online about a guy who was offering a room for rent in a mansion in Brighton, England. It was on a Craigslist website, gumtree.uk. And they said, you can come live in this house rent-free. You have the run of the mansion. You just have to stay out of my bedroom and my workshop. In exchange for this, all I ask is that for 2 hours every day, you dress up like a walrus. He said, I have for some time been constructing a very realistic walrus costume because I would like you to wear it. I'll throw you fish and crabs. I will you can't talk to me as a human when you're wearing a suit. You have to only make walrus noises. And in exchange for that, you live fucking rent-free. 2,000 people signed up for that fucking thing. 2,000 people were like, you know what? Free room? I'll fucking be a walrus. I don't give a shit. I'll love fish and crabs and stuff. So we were talking about the podcast with Scott Mosier. I was like, what the fuck? Turned out it was a hoax. Months later, we found out it was a hoax. Some kid woke up in Brighton, England one morning and was just like, I'm gonna fuck with the world. He wrote this ridiculous fucking Gumtree ad and stuff that went viral, went around the world. I found the dude. And I made him a producer on the movie later on. Without his art, my art don't happen. So we don't know at this point that it's a hoax. We just think it's a real thing. We're talking about on the podcast, and I'm like, this is fucked up. If you show up and take this room, this guy's gonna knock your ass out, sew you into that walrus suit, and instead of the human centipede, you're gonna be the human fucking walrus. And we keep talking as we do on this podcast, and we start building a little movie, a little horror movie out of the whole thing. And I'm having a blast. You can hear it. It's my guest, 259, Walrus in the Garbage. Oh my God, I'm fucking having a good time. Scott's having a good time as well. But then at a certain point, like, I fall in love with the idea. You can hear it. You can hear the brain snap. I had a microphone on that moment. It's one of the reasons I love podcasting. You have to literally hear it the moment I made the worst decision of my life. Like, it was crazy. Like, I fall in love with the idea very much. Like, because at night, you know, I go through Netflix the way I used to go to the video store. When I was a kid, I'd go to the video store, I would fucking look at every single title in every section. Even sections I wasn't intending to rent from and stuff. Just because I'm like, look at all this fucking choice and stuff. Now, I do that at Netflix. I'm with Netflix at night. I just go through all these fucking titles looking for something, and I realized I was looking for that walrus movie, man. I want to see a movie about a guy who turns another guy into a fucking walrus. I mean, that was fun. So you hear me fall in love with it, and I even said in the podcast, I'm like, copyright Kevin Scott, man. We're going to try to fucking do this for real. And Scott's like, we are? Scott, he was just joking around, but I fucking fell in love with it. And I said, anyone listening, man, if you think this is a good idea, that I write this as a movie, try to make this as a fucking movie and stuff. Hashtag Walrus Yes on Twitter. If you think it's a stupid idea, you don't think I should pursue this, hashtag Walrus No. And the next day there was a sea of Walrus Yes. Unintended. A literal sea of Walrus Yes. One Walrus No. There was a guy who was like, I'm really Walrus Yes, but I'm only saying Walrus No to support the democratic process. And that was beautiful to me, man. I was like fucking nuts, because that was a bunch of strangers going skate. You know how often that happens? Never fucking happens, man. People don't tell you to skate with this world. If you fucking jump out on the ice, people will be like, what are you doing? Get off the fucking ice. Take those fucking skates off. You're gonna break your fucking neck. You're not supposed to be out there. You look like an asshole, man. You're gonna embarrass yourself. You're gonna embarrass us. Get the fuck off before you hurt something, man. That's for better people. We fucking sit here and shit. Very rarely in life do many people who are like, skate, bitch. Lace up and fucking skate. Skate to the horizon. Don't ever come back. And if you fall, get the fuck back up. It's what's now, I'm also a 45-year-old man, and I'm not stupid enough to be the guy that's like, hey, do whatever the internet tells you, you know? The internet tells you to do one thing, you should probably fucking bet the other way. But the internet's like your friend when you're drunk at a party. And you're like, oh my God, I'm so drunk, it's time to take my cock out and show everybody. And your friend's like, do it, do it. Sam. I don't give a shit. Strangers that skate. I was like, fuck, that's what I need to hear right now. I'm blazed enough, let me fucking skate. And I started writing it shit, started writing the script. And then I was like, you know what? I could actually pull this off. I hadn't made a movie in 3 years and shit, but I was getting really excited about this one. But I knew I couldn't let my enthusiasm go nuts because it was a hurdle that I had to get over, and I'm married to her. And my wife's an amazing fucking woman, man. And if you threaten me, she'd fucking cut your throat. Like, she's one of those people and shit. But she's not what I would call a Kevin Smith fan. Like, she likes me for me, but the work not so much and stuff like that. Case in point, I got a TV show called Comic Book Men. It's on AMC. And we watch AMC together. We watch The Walking Dead, The Talking Dead. My show comes on after that and stuff. So we'll be sitting there watching Walking Dead, fucking Talking Dead, and at the end of The Talking Dead is usually a commercial. A fellow looks surprisingly like me, pops up, and he's like, stick around for more hijinks on Comic Book Men. That's when my wife grabs her remote, and she's like, we're going to bed. She turns the fucking TV on. Like, I don't really get to like fucking watch the show in my bedroom. I have this gross to admit that I have a 103-inch television in my bedroom. And I didn't buy that. I would never fucking buy that and shit, although I should, but I didn't buy it. It was a gift from a guy who worked at Panasonic, one from a man named Ed Janda. He called me up one day. I'd done a commercial with him years before. He called me up, he goes, hey, you got a 103-inch television here, man. And I know you got big walls in your house. We were just going to throw it out. Do you want it? And I was like, fuck yeah, give me all your garbage. Holy shit, why are you throwing it out? What is it, fucking built on an ancient Indian burial ground? It's got no speakers. We use it for the Olympics coverage. So it's on news stations or whatever. But you got a big wall. You're one of the only people I think use it. I was like, yeah, I'll totally take it. He goes, all right, I'm going to send 10 guys over to deliver it. It's really heavy. And I was like, how heavy? He goes, well, the fucking base is heavier than the TV. And I was like, holy shit, I'll be sure to tip these guys. I was like, right on. So the guys showed up, like, where do you want it? I was like, second floor. They brought it up to my bedroom, and they're like, where do you want it? And I was like, put it right at the edge of my bed, please. So like in my bedroom, like if you sat on the edge of my bed and then you stood up and went 1, 2, you're in the TV. So I'll watch it on any television. Lay on my belly and that's how I watch TV. So I never watched Comic Book Men on the big TV. I always wanted to and shit, but she don't watch the show at all. She only ever watched the pilot and one episode our kid was on and stuff. And she's like, well, I've got enough, thanks. And so I've never watched it on the big TV and I always wanted to because the big TV makes shit life-size. So like when my friends and me are on TV talking, I always dream of going next to the TV and standing next to myself. I could pull it off with that TV. So at the end of season 4, and I said to her, I was like, I usually live tweet the show from my office. That's where I watch Comic Book Men on my laptop. But I was like, hey man, I want to live tweet the last episode of this season from the big TV. I want to watch it on the big TV in the bedroom while I live tweet. Is that cool? She goes, no, that's not cool at all. She goes, you go to the office. I said, why, man? She goes, because that's your show and you do those things in your office. And I was like, it's a little fucking weird, don't you think? It's not funny anymore. It's fucking strange that you don't watch the fucking show that I'm on. If you were on a TV show, I would fucking watch every episode and shit. Don't you think it's weird that you don't watch the show I'm on? And she's like, well, Jesus Christ, Kevin, I'm not really in your demographic, am I? And I was like, you fuck Kevin Smith, man! You're not in my demographic. Demographic's in you, motherfucker! And she's like, you get really upset about this. I was like, I am! Fucking it's crazy that you don't watch this fucking show. She's like, Jesus Christ, Kevin, if I want to see you talk about Batman and wear that jersey, I'll look to my left. Needless to say, she was going to be a hurdle with the Walrus picture. So I wrote about 20, 25 pages, first 25 pages. I was like, all right, I'm going to fucking take this into her and show her. Because this is part of it, man. She could be part of this ride and shit. So I went down to the bedroom and I was like, hey man, I'm writing something. She was reading a book. I was like, can you read this? And she's like, you writing? I said, yeah. And she said, what is it? I was like, just read it and let me know what you think. She's like, okay. I went down to my office. And we got a phone system on our house where you can intercom, press a button, goes boop, boop, and then the voice goes to that room and shit. So I was sitting there smoking, looking at the internet, and I heard, boop, boop. Can you come down here, please? And I was like, okay. I was like, fuck, the principal's phone. And I went down to the bedroom, opened the door, and my wife had this fucking ghost-like look on her face. And she turned to the page and she goes, what the fuck is this? And I said, it's this thing I'm working on. It's called Tusk. And she goes, what's going to happen to this boy? She was talking about Justin Long's character. And I was like, nothing good. And she's going, what happens in the movie? And I was like, fucked up things. And she goes, well, finish it, because I want to read it. Like, it's kind of compelling. I said, yeah? She said, yeah. I said, all right. So I went back and I finished writing the script. And I brought it to her. I said, it's finished. Here, read it. She read it. And I got a call in my office. Come down here, please. Fucking went down there and shit. And she's smoking a cigarette and looking at me real strange. And she goes, sit down. And I said, okay. And she goes, how do I do this? Do you want me to be honest? And I said, yeah, honesty's best. Go ahead. And she goes, Kevin, this is one of the stupidest things I've ever read in my life. Hands down. Man trying to turn another man into a walrus, that shit's good. She's going, what? It's a real page turner. She's going, I really find that it holds together. As stupid as it is, I was sitting there going, this is pretty fucking compelling. I was like, really? She said, yeah, I couldn't believe it. I can't believe I'm saying it out loud. She's going, but like, I'm into this. I think it'd be cool if you made this. Camera down.